If you took a wild guess as to what I'm going to speak on, of course, I'm going to speak on Thanksgiving. You know, uh, at this time of the year, we always hear about how we should be thankful, right? And so it can become like a cliche for us. Oh yeah, I gotta be thankful. Okay, I gotta be thankful. Okay, and it's like, oh, it's another sermon on gratitude. It's Thanksgiving time, and sometimes what I observe is that people develop this gratitude fatigue. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, come on, okay, let's get over it, and so forth. And if our hearts are kind of like that, it's like, okay, yeah, it's the obligatory Thanksgiving message and so forth. Could it be, if I were to just be on the real, you're developing gratitude fatigue because you're not a grateful person? You know, I think we have a Thanksgiving like holiday because humans have a remarkable ability to be ungrateful. So we need to continue to be reminded. You know, our world, it doesn't teach us very many good things. I personally really dislike Black Friday. Some of us are plenty old enough to remember when there used to be no such thing as Black Friday. I think that spirit ruins what Thanksgiving is supposed to be. Because Black Friday is all about buying more, getting more, getting more. And again, I'm not judging anyone who does, and I'm sure you get good deals and so forth. But like, it's like consumerism, consume. Like, I need more when we should be grateful. So it used to be Black Friday, but now it's like Thursday, right? People start lining up in the stores like Thursday, like evening. It's like, wait, I thought that was supposed to be Thanksgiving Day, right? Where we enjoy one another and good food and just company. There's just so much to be thankful for. And so maybe the right attitude for us is not, oh, yeah, Thanksgiving's coming, so we should be reminded to give thanks, but actually to be excited about the reminder to be thankful. And we're thankful for that reminder because we know how much we need that. And so before I proceed, I want to show a clip, okay, and then we'll go forward.
You think this is just another day in your life? It's not just another day. It's the one day that is given to you today. It's given to you. It's a gift. It's the only gift that you have right now. And the only appropriate response is gratefulness. If you do nothing else but to cultivate that response to the great gift that this unique day is, if you learn to respond as if it were the first day in your life and the very last day, then you will have spent this day very well. Begin by opening your eyes and be surprised that you have eyes you can open. That incredible array of colors that is constantly offered to us for pure enjoyment. Look at the sky. We so rarely look at the sky. We so rarely note how different it is from moment to moment with clouds coming and going. We just think of the weather, and even of the weather we don't think of all the many nuances of weather. We just think of good weather and bad weather. this day, right now, it's unique weather. Maybe a kind that will never exactly in that form come again. The formation of clouds in the sky will never be the same that is right now. Open your eyes, look at that. Look at the faces of people whom you meet. Each one has an incredible story behind their face. A story that you could never fully fathom. Not only their own story, but the story of their ancestors. We all go back so far. And in this present moment, on this day, all the people you meet, all that life from generations and from so many places all over the world flows together and meets you here like a life-giving water if you only open your heart and drink. Open your heart to the incredible gifts that civilization gives to us. You flip a switch and there's electric light. You turn a faucet and there's warm water and cold water and drinkable water. It's a gift that millions and millions in the world will never experience. So these are just a few of an enormous number of gifts to which we can open your heart. And so I wish you that you will open your heart to all these blessings and let them flow through you. That everyone whom you will meet on this day will be blessed by you. Just by your eyes, by your smile, by your touch, just by your presence. Let the gratefulness overflow into blessing all around you. And then it will really be a good day.
That video was narrated by a Christian monk named David Steindl-Rast, and there's just wonderful reflections on gratitude that really just come from a heart of gratitude. You know, there's just no way around it, in case you guys wanted to look into anything more. But let's go to the PowerPoint. And today my message is entitled, Don't Worry, Give Thanks, and Be Happy. And I'm going to point us to the very next slide, that verse, and it should be something familiar to you. Okay, if we could have the next slide, please. 1 Thessalonians 5:18. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Sometimes young people will come up to me and they're like, "Oh, Pastor Joon, can you pray for me? Because I need to know God's will in my life." You know, and usually what they're trying to say is they want to figure out their career path. And I tell them, "Oh, give thanks in all circumstances. That's God's will for you." And they're like, "Oh, come, yeah." It's like, "Oh, yeah, thanks," and so forth. But no. Actually, no, it really is. It's actually much more important that you learn how to be a grateful person than whatever your career choice might be. Have you ever really thought about this verse and reflected on how you might actually live it? Because you know what this means? Giving thanks in all circumstances, it means that our gratitude is never dependent on our circumstances. That's what it means. So we give thanks when we have good circumstances, and we give thanks when we have bad circumstances. So sometimes when we have it doesn't make sense for people in the world. But sometimes when we have bad circumstances, it's like I can thank God and say, "God, I thank you, so I really can appreciate the good times." Or even better yet, thank you, God, for these tough times because it has taught me so much. Or it has shown me that I have resiliency to be able to overcome these things. And so we thank God even for that. If we are to give thanks in all circumstances of our lives, my hope is that even on my worst day, the very worst day of my life, that gratitude will arise out of my heart towards my God. Why are we to give thanks in all circumstances? Again, this is not a cliche. Because we have Christ. He is our sure foundation in the midst of circumstances and turbulence that a lot of times we can't control. We have an eternal hope that can never be taken away. And so we're able to overcome our circumstances. Just this week, actually it's been kind of lingering for more than that, but I've been quite sick. And I remember just feeling so sick, and I can't really sleep because of my kids. And I remember Thursday morning, I just put my hands on my face. In the morning, I was so tired, and I felt so ill. And I was reminded to give thanks in all circumstances. I mean, that radar has been a little bit sharper for me because I've been thinking about this message for the past 3 weeks, right? And honestly, I had an amazing day on Thursday. Amazing day. Because, brothers and sisters, our life isn't about what happens to you. It really isn't. Most people, when they try to think about things they're grateful for, they look around their circumstances. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be grateful for some of the things in our lives. I mean, of course, those are sources. But, again, what God's Word is telling us is that gratitude is an inner quality. It's not the externals, because we're supposed to give thanks no matter what the circumstance. So people with similar situations, you might see a grateful person, but also an ungrateful person, but their circumstances look pretty similar. Gratitude, it comes from within. Now, let's go to the next slide. And here's where the sermon title comes from, Philippians 4, 6, and 7. For some of us, again, it might be familiar. Do not be anxious about anything. Don't worry about anything. But in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, you can't humanly understand this kind of peace, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And I remember some years ago in my spiritual journey, I remember looking at that verse and I'm like, I don't really do this. When I pray to God, I don't really do this. I'm like, I don't really understand. I'm coming with requests before God, but I'm also to bring that with thanks. So I'm like, I don't fully understand, but let me try. Let me obey God's word. So every time I would request things of God, I would thank Him and I would thank Him. And then it would start to make sense. I'm thanking God because He's come through in my past. And I know He's trustworthy for the future. And He is so good. And He is listening to my prayers. And He's going to answer. So then every time I will come before God because of a need, I will come, but I would do it with thanksgiving. And so what used to feel like this urgent, desperate, oh no kind of a feeling, it's no, I'm presenting it, but I'm filled with gratitude. So then I would realize that God was actually giving me something better sometimes in my prayer. Because I would ask God to remove this particular issue in my life, but then I would recognize that peace that transcends all understanding was guarding my heart and mind in Christ Jesus. So then this issue still existed, but then I'm okay. I got peace, real shalom. And I'm like, what? This is better than actually getting my prayer answered, removing this thing out of my life. It's no, I get to have this rich thing. Giving thanks protects our heart. It uplifts our heart. Let's bring this back to the gospel. Christians, the essence of Christianity, it should be, gratitude should be the atmosphere in which we live. Because, our faith, right? We are saved by grace. That word grace comes from a Latin word, gratia. And that word is where we derive gratitude. Grace and gratitude come from the same word, which makes sense because the only way we know how to respond to grace is with gratitude. Because grace means it's something that we don't deserve, like some kindness that has been given to us. So, like, you can't earn it, you can't deserve it. So, what do you do with grace? You respond with gratitude. That's it. Being ungrateful is so antithetical to what we claim to believe. You know, the Israelites, their main problem, really, this was their problem. It wasn't anything else. This was their problem. They always complained. Manna, they complained. Man, back in Egypt, we used to eat like fish and garlic and leeks and, your bread is raining down from heaven. I know how normal it is in our society to always complain. But let me remind us, we're not people of the world. And let me remind us, it's a very dangerous place that we're entering into. You know, I've studied other religions pretty extensively. But one of the things that I really never found was much gratitude. I've been to Buddhist temples. I've never heard any Buddhists thank Buddha. Maybe it happens. I just haven't heard it. I've never heard Hindus thank like Vishnu. Okay, like I really haven't. And again, because I believe that the essence of these religions is what you have to do to be approved by God. So it's really about what you do. So then you have to work. You have to do better. But when there's grace, it's gratitude. And I love the Christian vision of heaven because it's all grateful people who've been saved by grace who are praising God. I just feel like if I were adherents of other religions and what they were saying was really true, I just think that heaven will not be so heavenly because it will just be a bunch of snobby people who deserve to be there, and you could look down on all the ones who didn't make it, right? Because you work for it. I prefer the grateful people, not the spiritual high and mighty and I'm better than them, right? Let's talk about some misperceptions about gratitude. First of all, a lot of people think happy people are people who have a bunch of things to be grateful for, a lot of reasons to be grateful. And actually, they got the order mixed up. Happiness is not what makes us grateful. Gratitude is what makes us happy. Some of you guys may have come down from UC Davis. There's a professor there named Dr. Robert Emmons. He happens to be a Christian too, and he's considered the world's foremost expert on gratitude. He's a behavioral psychologist. And basically, one of the things that all behavioral psychology agree on is it's really hard to change people. It's really hard. But one of the things that really, in Dr. Robert Emmons' research, his research ended up shocking not only himself, but his field. Because what they discovered was when people choose to give thanks, they change so much. And they really haven't found anything else that impacts someone's happiness level as gratitude. Again, it was mind-blowing for them because here's this assumption in behavioral psychology. It's almost impossible to change people. But then they discovered these people that they tracked who chose to give thanks on a consistent basis, they changed so much. And the scientific research shows that people who daily give gratitude, they improve not only their happiness, their health improves, their sleep improves, their generosity improves. Kind of makes sense, right? Their ability to forgive others improve. They achieve their goals better, and it frees them from emotional pain. Now, I know we talk a lot about inner healing in Christian circles, and I'm all for that. But let me tell you, if you want to overcome emotional pain, choose gratitude. It's been proven over and over again to be extremely effective. Gratitude is also shown to help people overcome difficulties a lot. And I hope that also makes sense intuitively. Okay? So, on all these like brain research, your brain changes all throughout your life. Okay? It's plastic. Okay? Meaning, so any choice you make, if you choose to say things or do certain behavior, your brain changes along with it. Okay? And what research shows that when you express gratitude, it actually works in the most sophisticated parts of our brain that affect our human social interactions. And the key that they found is that when you continually practice it, your brain changes to the degree that the gratitude becomes rooted into our subconscious. You're not even thinking about it. And what that means is that you have become a grateful person. It's a natural character trait that you carry now. And I want to ask you today, when are you going to be a happy person? A lot of people have this really ridiculous faulty thinking. A lot of people are trapped in it. They're always looking for happiness in the next thing in their lives. College students, you think when you graduate college, you're going to be happy? No, I'm sorry. I mean, your graduation day might be, great. But trust me, the very next day, life happens. People, really, do you really think your next job promotion is going to make you happy? You really think that extra salary is going to make you happy? You think marriage is going to make you happy? It's not. Don't get me wrong. It's a wonderful gift. Okay? You know what? College students, hear me out. Okay? And other single people. If you can't be happy single, you're not going to be happy married. You know why? Because you can't put two unhappy people together and create a happy marriage. It doesn't really work that way. You can't put two unhealthy people and create something healthy. So, people are always thinking the next thing in life, the next stage in life, and they think maybe that will make them happy. But it's not. We could choose to be happy today or not. Back when I used to be a junior high pastor, one of the students came up to me and he told me, you know what, Pastor Joon? When you go off to missions, don't worry. Because when I grow up, I'm going to be a millionaire. And I'm going to support you. Okay? How can you not appreciate that heart, right? 12, 13-year-old telling me, oh, awesome. But the next week I told him something else. I wanted to tell him at that point, but I'm like, you know what? I should be grateful, and then next week tell him the truth, okay? And I told him, you know what? Why don't you start giving to missionaries who are on the field now? Because then I can trust you to support me later. You're already putting into practice. Look, college students, okay? If you don't tithe now, trust me, you're not going to tithe when you make money, like real money. You think, but I'm a poor college student, so I can't right now, and I technically take out loans, so I am not making. Okay, first of all, don't be calculating with God, because people who love don't calculate things. And secondly, let me tell you, no, you won't be. Trust me, even if you make $100,000 a year, and technically you should be able to, but you know what? That $10,000 is going to look so big to you that you're not going to be able to do it. Ask our EM people, come on. People have a hard time tithing. If you can't do it now, you're not going to do it later. You're definitely not going to do it when you're a millionaire. Come on, let's get real. Yesterday, I had brunch with one of our college students. You know what he told me? Because, he has some issues with his status. He finished his associate's degree, going to transfer to UCI next fall. But in the meantime, he's working full-time. And he said, you know what, Pastor, I never thought I would ever think this, but now that I have a full-time job, I miss school. Okay, college students, you got it good in life. There's no job where you get 4.5 months off. You get 4.5 months off in the year. Trust me, it's good. I remember, when I used to pastor junior high kids, they would complain. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. Back in elementary school, like we didn't have this much homework. And, I'm like, oh yeah, I know the struggle is real, pre-algebra, And then they become high school students. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize, I thought I didn't like junior high, but please, SATs, get this away, Then they become college students and they have to write research papers and they talk about high school like, high school was actually not that bad. It was kind of good. And then they become adults and they're like, oh my gosh, I miss college. Isn't it funny how you look back and you're like, oh, those were good times. But if you were to actually videotape their lives while they were going through that stage, you would never think they were having a good time. Why? Because they're just complaining all throughout. So isn't it a shame when you look back, those are good times, but when you're actually living through those times, you're not having a good time at all? Because we don't know how to stop and give thanks and enjoy. Sometimes parents come to me, right? Especially new parents, and they're like, and of course, being a first-time parent is always hard, and it's a struggle. But they come to me, I was like, I don't know how you do 4 kids and stuff, It's like, what's it like having 4 kids at home? It gets really crazy sometimes, right? But then, I realize what they're trying to say. It's like, life is hard right now, so then, of course, I just want to, be in that same wavelength, right? Oh, yeah, it gets crazy. Sometimes it's hard and so forth. And it is sometimes, right? But to be honest, recently one of my closest friends, he had a baby girl. Okay, his first child. He lives in North Dakota, and I called him to congratulate him, and he's like, "Hey, Joon, what's it like having 4 kids?" And you know what I told him, just straight up, unfiltered, how I really feel. I said, it's friggin' awesome, dude. That's what I told him, because that's how I honestly feel. It is hard sometimes, trust me. I put my kids to sleep and then I sleep before they fall asleep. Some of you parents know what I'm talking about, right? It's 8 o'clock and I'm, So it is hard sometimes, but here's the thing. I just don't want it's hard to overwhelm this stage of their lives. When I look at them, I'm so grateful. And they grow up so fast. So why am I gonna always be like, oh, it's hard every day and not enjoy this time that I get to have? My youngest one, my baby, she harasses me. If I'm home, I have to hold her the whole time. I'm like, I have to use the restroom. I put her down, for so I could use the restroom. And she's just crying and banging on the bathroom door. It's hard sometimes, but I'm like, you know what? When else is she gonna do this? And so I'm thankful. Sometimes people ask, oh, Pastor Joon, it must be so hard being a pastor and so forth. When I talk with other pastors and it starts to become a pity party, oh, pastoring is so hard and difficult, blah, 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 and these things come out, I don't want to be there. Of course it has its challenges. Maybe it's a little bit more challenging than other jobs. I don't know your situation. Maybe because our hearts are so invested in it, it is hard sometimes, yeah. But I don't really think that way. It's so awesome. I started, and I hope that it's not just for pastors. I hope that's how you feel about your own careers. And if not, I hope that could happen because I feel so blessed. I started ministry in May of 2006, and every May I think about the past year. I reflect. Think about the good things I could have done better, right? What I have learned, struggles, whatever. But I always come back to the same conclusion. And it's always like, God, what in the world? Thank you. Why do you use someone like me? I still don't get it. Every time. So I honestly, when people are like, oh, Pastor, you must be hard, this and that, oh, you must sacrifice and this and that, and I'm like, really? I get paid to be a Christian. I feel sorry for you. I mean, not that much, but hey, I mean, we live, okay? I mean, I really don't think of it as it's so hard. It's just, I would rather do nothing else with my life. I don't know what I do. So that first misconception about gratitude is the order. Gratitude makes you happy. Happiness is not a cause for you to be grateful. It's the other way. And the second misconception is gratitude is more than saying thanks. Gratitude is actually about how we see the world. It's about how we see our lives. So life kind of becomes this continual invitation to gratitude. And gratitude is actually like a magnet for more blessing. Because people who are grateful, like, they're attuned to this. So then it becomes like this more reason to celebrate and be grateful. But ungrateful people, like, what's the point if they're ungrateful for what they have to give them any more? Because it's just going to be the same. It's not even a blessing to them. So the main difference between grateful people and ungrateful people is grateful people have an abundance because they start with what they have today and they're grateful. But ungrateful people can never have enough because they always look at life with what they don't have. So again, being grateful, being happy, it's a choice for today. It's not on your next stage of life, the next thing you get. Sometimes, before we think about how far we have to go in life, right? So if you're a college student, you got maybe your career planned out, maybe grad school and this, marriage, and first, like before we do all of that stuff, what if we took time to thank God for how far He has brought us thus far? Really, just stop and be like, wow, it may not have been perfect, but it's like, wow, God, you brought me this far. Thank you. When you wake up in the morning, do you think, oh, I didn't get enough sleep? Then when you go to bed, it's like, oh, I didn't get enough done today. Is that your pattern? That's not a good bookend for life. What if we started off waking up and you are actually grateful that you woke up today? That we were actually grateful for life. This incredible, beautiful life and the opportunity that God has gifted us. Nothing we ever chose of our own. And lastly, the last misconception about gratitude is that it's something that people have propensity for, like it's in their personality trait, it's in their disposition. It's not. It says to give thanks. It's something you do. Gratitude is something you do. So in reality, instead of labeling it grateful people and ungrateful people, it would be more accurate to say there are people who give thanks and there are people who don't give thanks. Can we go to the last slide? Okay, the picture. Now, if you saw that, if you wanted to look like that, you'd probably ask that guy, hey, what kind of exercises? What kind of, what do you do? How do you work out? And maybe you might ask him, what do you eat? But none of us will be like, whoa, what do your parents look like? Maybe his dad's fat and mom's out of shape. Who knows? Why? Again, what I'm trying to say is this. Giving thanks is like exercising a muscle. It's a spiritual muscle. And the more you do it, the healthier you become, the more grateful you become. So just like that guy looks like that because he exercises his muscle to a place where you look like that. Same thing with gratitude. It's not like, okay, so when you're approaching this Thanksgiving season, it's like, oh yeah, I need to be more grateful. Okay, I gotta be more grateful. Does that really work? Does that work? Yeah, I gotta be more grateful. Okay? It doesn't. It doesn't really change us. So I asked you moments ago, when are you going to be a happy person? And that question is essentially the same thing as, when are you going to be a grateful person? And what if we decided today was a day that you would choose to be a grateful person? And I'm going to be very practical here, because in some of this is from Dr. Robert Emmons' research as well. The number one habit that has been shown to be effective in changing a person's level of gratitude and happiness is journaling. And before you think, oh, I'm not going to journal, that's too much work, well, stop. Journaling is actually awesome because it actually helps you to become much more reflective. And secondly, because it requires discipline. And discipline is what gets results. Even with gratitude, it really does. So, what his research has shown is this. A lot of people can be very lazy about their gratitude, right? So, I mean, if you go around and ask people, what are you thankful for? It's all the same. Yeah, I'm thankful for family and friends, and thankful for family and friends. Okay, now I'm not saying those people aren't actually thankful for family and friends, but what it has shown is that when you're just general like that, it doesn't actually increase your gratitude level at all. Because it's just, there's nothing you invest in, there's no thought that you invest into that at all. So then what his research has shown is that instead of listing 5 things you're thankful for, he tells you to just list one thing you're thankful for and then write 5 sentences, write 5 things about why you are grateful. So if you wanted to say, I'm grateful for my mom, then it's like, you know what? I'm X amount of years old, and she must have cooked at least 50,000 meals for me. For that, I am really grateful. For the times when I was sick and she would stay up with me in the night so that she could nurse me, for that I am grateful. And then it activates our brains and our hearts to really think about and engage ourselves into why we are even grateful. And that has shown to get incredible results in changing people from ingrates to grateful people. So Emmons wrote a book called Gratitude Works. And in that book, he has this thing called a 21-day gratitude challenge. And basically, it's that 21 days of giving thanks, and writing it down. And again, what's incredible about his research, because it's been, decades now, he's done this study. So those people who did that 21 days, they were still reaping the benefits. They were grateful people 10, 15, 20 years later. That's why he did this 21-day gratitude challenge. He said, it will change the rest of your life. So the other thing that he mentions is this. What's the best way to express gratitude is writing a note. And actually the research is pretty incredible, and I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of it, but basically it's this. When you write somebody a note, okay? And they monitor people's hormones, right? So the good hormones that make you happy, like serotonin, dopamine, these things, right? Their level increases when they receive that note and they read it, and it stays increased for almost 2 months. The person who received that letter. But you know what's even more incredible? Is that that person who wrote the letter, their good hormonal levels increase for almost 3 to 4 months. And I think that's a biblical kind of principle of it's better to give than to receive. Because a person who has received, they feel appreciated, right? And that's life-giving. But the person who wrote it, they are grateful. Their gratitude is increasing as they are sending this. And so, my hope is that this Thanksgiving, it will be an incredible opportunity for us to actually take action to give thanks and thereby become more grateful people. And just to make it more practical, if you look like towards that end, there should be like a small table with a box, okay, and a couple of other boxes. What that is someone, again, one more thing to be grateful for, gave me $300 and decided to buy 100 journals and also those, but they're good journals, okay? You can check it out. And also thank you cards. And what I wanted to encourage us, again, is to start giving thanks today. And you could take those cards, as many as you need. Well, maybe not like too many, but if there are certain people that you can think of that you're grateful for, that you would express that unto them. And they don't always have to be like people like we're like so thankful for this or that. Sometimes, people teach me a lot of things. I remember this particular student who gave me a lot of stress and heartache. I started to become really thankful because he taught me, maybe that wasn't his intention, but he taught me so much about pastoring. He has no idea, but he taught me more than just about anyone else. And really, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic here, I'm really thankful for that. And I'm really thankful for that person that God has placed in my life. If I could have the praise team come up, please. So again, I don't want us to just hear a nice message and say, oh yeah, the point is, okay, I need to give thanks. But it would be great if we could actually put it into action and start giving thanks, giving thanks, and giving thanks. And choose today to be grateful, to be happy, instead of waiting on something that's never coming. Let's remember who our God is. Let's remember what He has done. And let's remember all His promises. And that will allow us to be grateful in all circumstances. And I pray that you also will have that same desire where you could tell God, God, even in my worst day, let gratitude from my heart rise to you. If I could ask everyone to rise together at this time.